Hello, church. My name is Jonathan Plasek. I'm the media director here at The Gathering, and I'm joined today by a good friend of mine, Conor Scholes, who is the creative arts pastor at The Gathering. That's correct, right?
That is correct.
Okay, that is the current title.
Yes, that's the current title.
Okay, so
I
for
feel like
creative arts,
every 3 years it changes to something
Conor's
else, right?
had the most titles
so who knows?
in Gathering history. So tell people a little bit about what you do.
So basically what a creative arts pastor does at The Gathering is I'm in charge of the weekend services, specifically like as far as worship planning and then training and using volunteers both in audiovisual and in all of the music that we do for the weekend. And then I collaborate with Jonathan with some of our creative elements that we have throughout the year and then some of our social media accounts and what we do there. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it has to do with the weekend service, but really, I guess overall it'd just be everything going on.
Yeah. And so really quickly, before we go on, if you guys are joining us on Conor's interview, you can go back and watch a lot of the other guys' interview as well on YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, all those good places. And these are going to be under our website as well, gatheringkc.com. If you go to About Us, under the staff, these videos will be there for you guys to watch if you did miss and want to watch, say, Matt Brown's interview. Matt Brown did a great job.
That would be an interesting interview.
I called him the most attractive man on staff, so we'll see how that sticks.
Probably.
Maybe I called Francis that. I don't know. I've used that line a lot today.
So basically, whoever's talking to you becomes the most attractive
person. Yes, definitely in the room. So how old are you, Conor? And tell us about your family.
So it's 2021. But I am going to be 41 in just a few weeks.
Okay.
So I am reaching that point where all of my hair decided that it needs to start switching colors, which is just kind of cool. And at the same time makes me realize I'm getting old. Yeah. As my daughters like to tell me. Yes.
Older.
That's right. Older.
And then what about your family?
So I have 4 children. I'm married to Elizabeth and then I have 4 children, Caleb, Jack, Betsy, and Hannah. So Caleb and Jack are 13 and 11, and then Betsy and Hannah are 5 and 3.
Okay. It's a good family. Yes. It's a really good family.
It is a good family.
I'll say the Scholes family, whenever they come in, you know they're there because they'll either be giving you a hug or they're coming toward you to give you a hug, right?
That's right. And probably screaming if it's the girls. Yes.
What do you enjoy most about being here at The Gathering?
You know, the thing that's always been amazing to me about The Gathering since we came before we were on staff and then as I've been on staff is that it is a place of redemption. It's a place where you can heal, a place where you can grow, and then a place where you can develop lifelong relationships and friendships while you walk with Jesus together. Yeah.
So let's go back to little Conor. Okay, little Conor, where did you grow up? Born, grow up, and where you went to school and stuff.
So I was actually born in a little town called Phillipsburg, Kansas, which is way in western Kansas. And at 2, we moved to Pratt, where I spent all of my growing up time. Pratt, Kansas is an hour west of Wichita, an hour east of Dodge City. So it's like right before you fall off the end of the earth, there's Pratt.
There it is.
So, and I grew up definitely being involved in the church. My dad was a volunteer worship pastor, but he was also a band director and a coach. So I kind of grew up with music and sports being pretty equally balanced in my life.
So sports that you play, I mean, probably everything in Pratt, Kansas, but what all did you play?
So in a small school, you're involved in everything, but in junior high, I did football, basketball, and track, which I was like 4'7", 70 pounds playing football. I'm surprised I didn't die. Yeah. But and then in high school, I ran cross country and played basketball and ran track. So.
And what about hobbies now? Now that you're grown, Conor.
So grown Conor likes to run and likes to play at golf. I would say that I'm not serious enough to be a good golfer, but I have moments.
So, yes, you do. Yes. I have seen many of the moments where Conor comes in amazingly clutch. And so, let's talk a little bit about your running because I went into this with Matthias as well. You guys are on in my opinion, the crazy side spectrum of running, right? So you guys are. He's run a 50K. You are training for a 50K. Yeah. Why?
That's a great question. So I actually, when I graduated from high school, I kind of stopped running after the first couple of years of college just because I was done. I'd grown a lot my last part of high school and first part of college and had a lot of knee pain, so I just stopped running.
Yep.
And then I didn't really pick it up because every time I pick it up, it hurt again. My knees would hurt.
Yep.
And in the last couple of years, when I started running, just found a pair of shoes that kind of helped balance that out to where it became enjoyable. And so I was like, you know what, I'll train for a half marathon. So I ran that, felt pretty good. And during COVID, one of my other worship pastor friends in Pennsylvania had said, hey, let's run the Pittsburgh Marathon. And so signed up for it. Of course, that got canceled.
Right.
But I'd done 3/4 of the training, and I was like, well, I may as well run a marathon. So I put myself through that. And
you finished.
And I finished.
Yep.
I did finish. Yes, it was painful, but I finished.
Yep.
And this fall, I had a high school buddy who was running a 50K and wanted to know if I'd pace him. And so I thought, well, I'll pace him. And then I got sick and couldn't do it, but I'd already paid, and you can only defer those. And so I was like, well, because of who I am, I'm like, I'm going to get my money's worth. So
so you deferred to
yes,
this year.
so I deferred to the spring, and I am preparing to run a 50K 2 days after my birthday. So
okay, so 41-year-old will be crossing the 50K mark.
Yes, that's right.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Your family, we'll talk a little bit about this later, but pretty much your in-laws are one generation at the church, and then you and your wife, and then now your kids. It's me and Matt Brown talked about. It's such a generational church. How do you see that? As kind of a unique part of who we are.
So honestly, if you would have told Conor 20 years ago when I started ministry that I would be a long-term staff at a church with my in-laws, I probably would have been like, yeah, it's not happening. But one of the great things about seeing the different generations in the gathering is that we get to see and sometimes have them participate together. Yeah. So one of the cool things that I've gotten to see, because all of us have some musical ability, is just to see 3 generations of the same family singing together, or being a part of something bigger, like we have gotten to do, and not just our family, but other families. Yeah. And so that's a really neat thing that I think also talks to the fact of, as you raise your children and you get to see them grow in the Lord, and then their children also are raised in the Lord. And so you kind of get to see some of the generational benefit from that as well.
Yeah, it's incredible just to look around both campuses too, because we are, if you're new to watching the series, we're 2 campuses, 1 church, 1 in Independence, Missouri, and 1 in Blue Springs. And at both campuses, I see grandparents with their children, which then they have children, right? So there's grandchildren. It's amazing, and probably one of the more special things I've ever gotten to see, of 3 generations worshiping together. Kind of that true feeling of maybe what heaven's going to be like. Everybody, generations of family members worshiping together. So let's talk about your salvation story. Where did Jesus find you and get a hold of you?
So one of the things that my dad would always do when I was real little is he would sit me on his lap as he was reading the Bible in the morning. And one of the things he always did is he always read Psalm 1 to me. Blessed is the one who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, but sitting to see his scoffers. And just talking about his delights on the law of the Lord, he meditates day and night. He'll be like a stream firmly planted. And he would read that to me pretty much every morning when I was 2, 3, 4 years old. And when I was about 4 years old, one day I just took that Bible back from him and I read Psalm 1 for the morning. Said I wanted to read. I had it upside down and was obviously not reading, but it was
had
there,
it memorized.
Right?
Yeah.
And so one of the things I appreciate about the way that my parents approached our faith was that it was an open conversation. Yeah. And I think I'm paying for this a little bit now with my own kids, but I, for some reason, love to have serious conversations with my dad when he was in the bathroom and I was outside the door. And
so now that's flipped.
And now that's flipped, I feel like. But one of those conversations, we were talking about the Lord's Supper and what that meant and why that happened. And I had the understanding that, man, I don't get that. I don't have that. I need that relationship. And so through the bathroom door, we began to have the discussion of what faith meant in Jesus Christ. And that was, really my first moment of aha and realizing my need for him as a Savior and for his grace to come into my life. And then obviously after that, I remember quite well following through in believer's baptism, because it was in early spring, and in Pratt that was pretty cold, and they had broke the ice off of the outdoor pool at a motel nearby that we could get baptized in, and it was cold.
Washed by the cold water.
That's right. Yes.
And then, so since then, obviously that was probably a ways back as a kid, maybe 5-10 years. If you can think just 5-10 years in the past. How have you seen God continue to refine and sanctify you throughout that time?
I think the thing that I've realized as I continue to grow, not only older, but continue to walk in my relationship, is I know so little. Like I just, I have such a need to not only be in relationship in the Word, but in prayer, and just to continue to study and to understand who God is in my life, and how he is so active and living in that. And I think, especially, in my 20s and probably even into my 30s, like I had this idea at some point that I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was like. And I think that as I aged, the more I realized that the less I know.
Yeah.
And so just to be in that area where it's like, okay, God, what do you have for me to learn that I'm not learning, that I'm not listening to, that I need to be?
Yeah. It's laying aside your pride, right? I mean, and not that you're a prideful person, but even every single person walks through pride daily, right?
Absolutely.
Like eyeballs on me, right? The pride side of things, even laying that down is massive in a lot of people's lives. Last one for you, and then we'll get you out of here because you're a busy man. What is, if you were not a member at the gathering, if you were in the surrounding communities, Independence, Blue Springs, even beyond that, because we're really a stone's toss away from Lee Summit and Green Valley and Oak Grove and even Kansas City, Raytown. What would be the reason why the gathering would be a great place to plug in for people?
I think one of the things that I love about the gathering is how real the people are. You are going to encounter people who have walked through everything imaginable in life and yet love each other well, and bind together in God's love, because they realize that it's by grace they've been saved, it's by grace they're here, and it's by grace they continue. And so to see the way that people reach out and serve with each other and serve each other is really neat to watch at the gathering, as well as to know that you can walk in and not have to worry about what people are thinking about you. I think that's a really important thing.
Yeah. I mean, I love on our website, if you go to gatheringkc.com, what should I wear? Anything you're comfortable in. Like that, if anything is a stone of who we are, is come as you are. That's a great part. Conor, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at CL Scholes. I'm really creative in my names, not so much, but that's my tag on any of the social media platforms.
But makes great coffee art.
I do.
Fantastic
or
coffee
not so
art.
Much. Purposely bad coffee art.
It's like the really bad art that you see, but people buy it for thousands of
dollars.
That's
right. Yes.
It's similar.
Yes.
So appreciate you coming in, Conor.
Thanks.
And guys, stay tuned. We have a few more interviews coming up with our staff members. If you do want to go back on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, go out and check out the other guys. We've had David, we've had Nate, Matthias, now Conor, and we've had Francis. So go and check those out, and we'll see you guys next time.